Kugan Cassius, IFL TV, here at Wembley. Back at Wembley.
Back at Wembley.
Back at Wembley.
It's great, isn't it?
Absolutely. The return of the Saint. George Groves' first fight back since his back-to-back defeats to Carl Froch. Obviously the fight's at the arena, but coming back to the same setting in a way. Must-win fight for George.
Yes, I think it is. I mean, it was incredible, wasn't it, on May the 31st? I think it's a date that will live long in the memory. Just driving up today to Wembley, brought it all back, and having a look at the pitch now and the press conference room where obviously Froch-Groves came together for the last time, and now it's all different for George, isn't it? It's rehabilitation, it's rebuilding, and it's not an easy fight back. It's a tough fight back, but it's a sensible one. It's a fight that he should win against this new European champion in Christopher Rebrasse, who's decent and organised. But I think that George should have the class to be able to deal with him. But obviously, it's a hard ask coming back in after 2 stoppage defeats to this sort of a fight against Rebrasse at Wembley as well. I think it tells you a lot about George Groves, Kugan, about what he's made of, what's inside him. He had his ups and downs as an amateur. He's had his ups and downs as a pro, but he's made a pretty sturdy stuff, and I expect him to get the job done tomorrow night, and I expect him to go on to do good things in the sport. It
seems apparent that after his defeat with Froch, that he didn't waste any time in sort of mulling over. They've probably discussed with Sauerland about what we're going to do now, and sort of get the ball rolling with winning this fight and getting a mandatory slot, which is what we'll get in Anthony Durrell, who beat Saker Beaker on the Brook and Porter undercard. So he's hungry for this world title, shall we say?
Of course he is. I mean, he's always said to me he will become a world champion at some stage. It may take time, and I think he thought that was going to happen in November in Manchester against Carl Froch, and after the start that Froch had, it very nearly did. The controversy about the ending and set us up for the rematch, but I think the rematch was more than just about the world title, wasn't it? It was about what's happened to boxing, the fact that you can get 80,000 people in the stadium. The casual fans got engaged with 2 personalities who didn't like each other, but it was a fight that no one knew who was going to win, and it was pretty simple, wasn't it? Froch or Groves, and everybody had their opinion. And I think, and I still say it now, I'm not convinced that either fighter knew until the outcome what was going to happen on that night. I think it was really that close, and it was nip and tuck all the way. I mean, I had Froch in a slight lead, but it was. Some people had Groves, and yes, definitive ending, a crushing ending for George, and a wonderful ending, obviously, for Carl. Carl goes on, George goes on too. It's just a different scenario now. He's got a lot to prove, and he's got to prove it in the ring. Less talking outside, I suppose, and more inside. He's got to do a job, I think, somehow, make a statement tomorrow night, and I think he's just got to get the win, and then he can go on and think about a world title fight, and then possibly getting someone like James DeGale in the ring again or something like that. But I wanted George Groves on Sky, and I'm really happy, Kugan, that he's still on Sky.
Absolutely. I was watching my second favourite boxing programme yesterday. What?
Your second favourite?
Yeah, it used to be my favourite, but it can't get ahead of my own show.
Congratulations, so. Kugan.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you. You should come more on ringside. I mean, you're always welcome. You know that.
I know that. But no, it's good. Listen, we're doing our thing.
Of course it is. Enjoy Vegas.
Absolutely. Always enjoy Vegas. It's a good week out there. Yeah, I was watching ringside. See the 2 Olympic heavyweight gold medalists sat next to each other.
Yeah.
Just from a Sky point of view, what do you think about that fight? Like, if they tried to make it?
2 Olympic gold medalists, it's a fight, isn't it, that I think people would be interested and fascinated by. Audley Harrison, well, he's early 40s now. He's had the crushing defeats to David Price and Deontay Wilder. Occasionally he bounces back, doesn't he? He bounces back and does prize fighter in a different guise. He's bounced back and done Big Brother. I mean, it's not in the ring, but he came runner-up there, and everybody sort of got to see the real mellow Audley, and it was pretty good viewing actually with him and Kelly, and I think that Audley will always talk a good fight. I mean, I think he's told you, I think he's told other people that he wants David Haye, he wants the rematch. I mean, I can't see that. But I wish Audley the very best. If it's a fight with Anthony Joshua, it's a fight with Anthony Joshua. If it's back to LA, and he was talking to me yesterday offset about doing some cooking programs and stuff like that as well. He was known in the Big Brother house as the cook, wasn't he? Maybe he could do that. I don't know. Do I want to see Audley Harrison back in the ring? Possibly. It's up to him. Fundamentally, it's his career. It's his it's his journey. He says that there's another year or so involved in that. And Joshua, you know, yes, he's fought Matt Skelton. There's no reason why he can't fight Audley Harrison. Most of the heavyweights have at some point or other, so that could happen, yes, but it's up to other people, not myself, Coogan.
Where do you draw the line between a fight that is commercially viable and one that's hated by purists but they'll still watch it? So where do you find that sort of divide? Because this seems to be a fight that the sort of hardcore boxing fans are sort of slating and going,
of course,
no, they should not fight each other. But
because they think there's only one outcome.
Yeah, but on the other flip side, it would appeal to the masses and people would still watch the fight anyway.
Because they know Audley Harrison and they're getting to know Anthony Joshua pretty well.
Yeah,
it's true. And I think that people watch Audley Harrison and see what happens. You know, whether he gets knocked out or whether he can find a way to get through or whatever. You know, we've had some good performances from Audley as well. It hasn't been all bad, you know. Olympic gold medalist and you know, a decent fighter. Just, you know, as he's stepped up, he's not been able to make it. You know, Deontay Wilder, he was really confident after the second prize fighter win, and you know, look what happened. I think that's the problem with the trade fans and what they'll think of that fight. And with the casuals, you know, it's a fascinating one. I think I look at it more as it would be an Anthony Joshua, you know, another learning fight for him, as opposed to, you know, some big clash. Because I think, you know, we all know what Audley has and what age he is now, and I think that, you know, Joshua would be an overwhelming favourite to do a job pretty quickly on it. So maybe, you know, it'll be looked at as a sort of fight that is another rung up the ladder for Joshua rather than anything really much to do with Audley. But it's a difficult one because I think also the casual fans who locked into Froch-Groves saw a 50-50 fight. So I think we should be giving them as many 50-50 or 55-45 fights as possible. Tough call, that one.
Absolutely. It's always good to get the view of a fight on an opposing channel. What do you think of Saunders and EUBANK?
I think it's a great match. I think it's an absolutely terrific match. You know, Fury Chisora, like to see the outcome of that, obviously. Disappointed about what happened before, and you know, let's see what happens this time. You know, they've fought before. I'd imagine Fury would do it again. Chisora's obviously going to be in better shape. Spencer Oliver, I work quite closely with, always says that, you know, Derek's in a much better place now, and you know, interesting fight, of course, in the heavyweight division, as the heavyweight division goes through this sort of, you know, this blooming period. I think now, you know, Vitali seems to have moved on, and Vladimir will only have surely 2-3 years left at max, and you know, it's open then, and be really interesting to see what happens with Fury and Chisora. As far as Billy Joe and Chris Eubank Jr., I mean, I really want to see that fight. I think it's an absolutely tremendous match. I'm a big fan of Billy Joe's. I think he's got a really good style. He's always decent to watch. He was our young boxer of the year at the British Writers Club last year. I sat next to him all night, and he's a tremendous kid, and I really, not a kid anymore, you know, he's becoming more seasoned, and he's done nothing wrong. He's a very good fighter, and I thought he did very well against John Ryder. Good match again. This is another good match, isn't it? You know, Chris Eubank Jr., he's got all the potential. He's got the razzmatazz of his dad. He's got the, you know, the charisma in his own way. But he's very good, I think. So I think it's a really tough fight to call. I would say in a year or two I might be leaning towards Eubank more, but now Billy Joe may just have that extra little bit of professional experience on him. It's a fascinating one. And what we need in boxing.
100%. The date of that is the 29th. A proposed date hasn't been confirmed or anything. For Cleverly Bellew was meant to be the 29th. If that is the case, is that good or bad for boxing? That two big shows like that go on the same night on two different channels? If it does. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed as such yet. But it's
tough. Sometimes scheduling is what it is, you know. Tomorrow night, Kid Galahad fights, doesn't he, on Channel 5, and we have George Groves, and, you know, there's Buglioni as well.
Yeah.
There's, you know, sometimes it happens. I mean, I think, you know, it's always better for everybody if things don't clash, and we can sort of enjoy, you know, and the fans can enjoy almost one at a time. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. Arenas get booked and whatever. I'm not quite sure when Bellew Cleverly will be. I think it is almost made. I think it is almost over the line. I think it's going to be sometime in November.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Eddie to tell me.
Yeah. It's not confirmed date. It was just a proposed date that was mentioned before.
I think so. I think November 29th was mentioned. I think it was going to be December 6th with Kell Brook.
Yeah.
I think, you know, so we have to wait and see how that pans out. I'm sure Bellew and Cleverly will happen. on some date in November or December. So I'm just waiting to see.
Hopefully see Kell Brook in action.
But yeah, in answer to your question, November 29th, the fact that there's a big fight, and also EUBANK and Billy Joe, which adds something certainly to Fury and Chisora's card. So I think that will be tough to have two big shows on the same night, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Finally, pay-per-view event, Johnny Nelson versus Marco Huck.
Pay-per-view event, Johnny Nelson and a pay-per-view event.
Would you put that on Sky?
Would we put that on Sky? I mean, listen,
do you agree with it, first of all?
Do I agree with it? Listen, two things here, right? Johnny Nelson retired from boxing 9 years ago, okay? That's a long, long time for anyone to get back into a ring. And you know, as we know, comebacks often don't end up the way that people think they will. You know, as fit as Johnny is now and as conditioned and whatever, and he keeps himself in terrific shape, of course he does, it's very different fighting. And I think that if he did take on such a challenge, he would have to go through 2 or 3 months in a training camp to see even if his body was up for it. I would advise him to do that. I mean, I'm very close to Johnny. He's not only my co-presenter on Ringside and has been obviously for a few years, but I'm a very good friend of his. And so yeah, you know, I'm very torn on something like this because obviously I see him as a Sky presenter, as you know, a family man, someone who did boxing and who retired on his terms as a world champion, having reigned for 7 years after losing his first 3 pro fights, freezing and going through, you know, a tremendous tussle to even get there. So there's part of me that says, let it be, and there's another part of me that knows Johnny and knows that he loves a challenge and the fire's burning and he thinks he can do it. Marco Huck, 13 defenses, Johnny Nelson, 13 defenses. It's a dream story, it's a Rocky story, isn't it? I think there's a lot of things to go through before a decision can be made. Would Marco Huck even want the fight? Would he come here? Would it be in Germany? Would he want to fight someone with that sort of style? Would John even have that style 9 years on? Could he do it with his reflexes? His knees are gone, his hips, he's had a hip replacement. I mean, it's, you know, it's sort of in one way ridiculous, but in one way fascinating. And if he did win and pull it off, what a story. You know, would he even get a license? There's a lot of things to be taken into account. But I know Johnny is fairly serious about it, and that is, you know, something that we have to listen to. It's his decision ultimately. It's his decision, nobody else's.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. All right, well, listen, Adam, thanks for talking.
Well, do we have it on Sky? Of course, we'd love it on Sky if it happens.
Right, that's what I was going to ask.
Absolutely, we'd love it on Sky.
Yeah, pay-per-view, arguably, but yeah.
Well, let's leave that for another day.
You have to put me and Eddie Hearn on the undercard.
I think you and Eddie maybe. Yeah, that's. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's another story, another strange story of many strange stories of late.
Oh, can I just ask you? You've got a Sky Sports special on Kellie Maloney.
We have.
Is that in the studio? Is that?
Yeah. Studio on Monday night next week.
Has it been done already?
Yes, we did it this week, and it's fascinating. You know, she's had an unbelievable journey, and you know, I knew Frank Maloney for 20 years, I suppose, like you did, like everybody did. And I spent a lot of time around him, obviously, as a promoter, and time in Lennox Lewis's camp, maybe 15, 16 training camps in the Poconos, in Big Bear, whatever. It came as an enormous surprise to me when I heard the news this summer. An immensely brave decision. And, you know, I suppose there are people out there that are thinking she's gone in the Big Brother house, she's done it in public, and, you know, and is this a money thing as well? But, you know, I don't know. I sat with her this week, and, you know, she is Kellie Maloney, and she's still passionate about boxing in some ways. I think she's forgotten boxing for a while, but, you know, we talked about the old days and as Frank and what promoter Frank was, and dressing up in the Union Jack suits and all that, and maybe, you know, it was an act for her, and that's an unbelievable story. But, you know, Johnny and I caught up with someone we've known for a long time, and you know, she is now Kellie Maloney, and it's Monday night, and you know, I hope everybody watches it.
I think they will. 10 o'clock.
I think the key is, Coogan, that people are happy in life, and she certainly seemed a lot calmer and happier than I saw Frank towards the end of maybe his boxing journey with David Price and all the rest of it, and the difficulties with Darren Sutherland and Paul Ingle and all of those ups and downs and quite traumatic nights, and also the health thing as well. You know, Frank had heart attacks, and I asked Kellie about her health now, and she said, you know, I'm much better. I've found a sort of calmness, and then when she started talking boxing again, the old passion and and drama came back. So maybe that's working in boxing, Coogan. You and I have done it for a long time. Maybe it's that sort of compelling world that that we just sort of can't live without.
Expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected. And,
Sky Sports, what channel? 1?
I think it's Sky Sports 1 at 10 o'clock on Monday.
10 o'clock. All right. Adam Smith, thanks for talking to IFL TV. We look forward to George Groves. Hope he gets back on track and gets that shot at Durrell.
Cheers, Coogan. Keep doing what you do. You do it very well.
Thank you very much.